Hey, how's it going? Okay, today's the day. Let's take a closer look at this Tarkas figure or statue and the John Carter figure that goes with it. So let's start with the John Carter figure. Let me grab the box since it's the least impressive of the two. So he comes in this box, which is very nice. This is made by Triad Toys. I think. Oops. I think it was about 2009 when this came out. Very nice, solid packaging on this toy. It says John Edgar Rice Burroughs, John Carter of Mars, Deluxe 12-inch collectible figure, Triad Toys. 1/6 collectible figure. There's a picture of him with this helmet on that he comes with, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. Here's the back. There's a really nice write-up on the back. Look at this. It tells us all about everything. John Carter was an American Civil War veteran who found himself transported to Mars under mysterious circumstances. With his enhanced strength caused by the lessened gravity on Mars and his fighting prowess, John Carter aligns himself with the native inhabitants, the Tharks. Befriending the Thark Tarkas, John Carter finds himself embroiled in a battle between the warring Martian tribes. Leading the Tharks into battle against the Zedonga, Carter prevails and becomes the Prince of Helium. There's more. You can read all this stuff as we go down. It talks about everything. I'm a little bit tired, but I'm not going to read it all. But it's there. You can pause it and read the rest of it if you like. This is a synopsis of a book called A Princess of Mars, which is the first book in the Edgar Rice Burroughs John Carter of Mars series. I highly recommend you read that book if you haven't already. It's called A Princess of Mars. It tells the story of John Carter being transported to Mars the first time from a cave complex, I believe in Arizona. That's where it starts shortly after the Civil War, if I remember correctly. Look at this. This is a map of Barsoom in here. This is nice. I like the attention to detail that these people at Triad Toys, which I suspect is just a Chinese toy company, somebody there who made these things has a love for Edgar Rice Burroughs and John Carter, which is really cool. So these are great books. I think there's 10, maybe 11 in this series. They don't all have John Carter in them. Some of them star different characters that you meet later, through the series, and they're all very good. Some of them, my favorite one, I like this one called Synthetic Men of Mars. It's one of my favorites. All right, let's look at John Carter here. Sorry about that, just looking at the table. Okay, we looked at him a little bit ago, and I talked about this, that he's a little thin for me. He looks a little skinny for John Carter, in my opinion. So we'll just start from top to bottom. The head sculpt is not great, but it's not terrible. I don't know if it looks like how I ever envisioned John Carter looking, other than the color of the hair, but it's not awful. It's just not great. Okay, he comes with this cape, which is cheap, kind of chintzy. Do you see it? The material? This is a huge part of the figure that, in my opinion, detracts from the quality of this figure. Um, if the cape was a better material, it would look much better. And this loincloth thing should be a better material. Otherwise, everything else is pretty good. The body itself is pretty flimsy. Keeping in mind, again, this is 2009. The technology on these figures was not perfected at this point, clearly. All right, he comes with a gun that just fell out of the holster. There's a holster here that holds the gun pretty well. See it? It's right there. So he comes with this Martian blaster type thing. Comes with a very nice sword that has a very nice sheath. You can see that. And it's metal. I feel like he's going to fall over. There we go. It's metal. It looks really good. He comes with multiple different hands. And he comes with a right hand that holds this sword perfectly. Very, very well. Let's look at those hands real quick. So he comes with this wide variety of hands, which is good in my opinion, because if you know about John Carter and you've enjoyed the books, you know that sometimes he does fight just fisted hands, but then also sometimes he's really into a lot of sword fighting. So that hand that I was telling you about, I think it's this one right here. Let me show you. There's like a little slit in it. It doesn't look like it has it, but is this the right one? It is. See, look. So this is the hand that's made for holding that sword, and it really holds it tightly, which is a nice thing. So there's that. Here's the negative. Another one of the... So the leather parts, the harness, I think are good. These bracelets on the arms, I think are good. The hands are good. The head sculpt's okay. The body is not great. It's just okay. These boots, they're okay. It's just everything's okay. This helmet that he comes with doesn't fit his head, no matter what you do. Now, I have tried everything to get this onto his head. I tried to melt it, to warm it up with a hairdryer and bend these sides out. And when I did that, it broke that thing on the side. See it? See how it's broken, and I had to super glue it together. Now, even after all that, it still won't fit on his head. So I'm not sure that. So this is a problem. They had a problem with this. This doesn't even fit the head sculpt. The helmet doesn't fit. So it's not a bad like display piece, like you could have him holding it or something, but it doesn't fit. So that's that. All right, so we're done with him. I think that's a pretty good way to look at him. If this figure interests you, they're probably out there. I'm not sure, though. I don't really know. It's like the same with the statue. So I took this out, and I found out that the Tarkas statue that I have, they only made 100 of them, and I have number 11. So there's not much to this box. We're not even going to look at it. I mean, it's just over there, and there's nothing really to it. It's just a picture of the figure. There's no write-up or anything. Now, this is fantastic. So let's start from the top. Also by Triad Toys from 2009. This is a great sculpt. I think that this looks just like how I would like Tarkas to look. I couldn't even imagine him looking any other way. To me, this is perfect. The armor, the leather harness he's got on, also perfect. The way that they're doing the torso with the 4 arms, I like this, as opposed to sometimes I've seen people illustrate or design the Tharks to be more insect-like. Even though they are a species that is hatched from eggs, they lay eggs, and their children are hatched from eggs. Sometimes they make them, because they're an animal or a humanoid race, because they're a race that has 4 arms, sometimes they make this design more insect-like, and they give him 2 torsos, one on top of the other, if that makes sense. Do you understand? 2 torsos. Instead, they've done this with one kind of a little bit elongated torso, which to me, this is how I pictured it when I was a kid, when I was reading the books. This is what I got. A lot of what you're looking at here, I mean, this reminds me of how I imagined him when I was reading the books. So this guy is a great character. This is like John Carter's best friend, almost like blood brother. These guys are really tight. There's adventures that involve, if I remember right, Tarkas' daughter. And John Carter, and they had to rescue her, I think. It's been a long time since I've read these books, but they're great. Should have pulled them out, and we could be looking at comparisons of how they've drawn Tarkas in the past. The books are all available. You can read those, and there's comic books. So Dell Comics came out with John Carter comics in the 60s, maybe the late 50s. Sorry, maybe the 50s. It's more accurate. He's really heavy. I'm just going to spin him around for you guys, hopefully without any negative results. So there's about 4 issues of Dell Comics that are adaptations. And then in the 70s, Marvel Comics made a comic book called John Carter, Warlord of Mars. That's a really good comic book. I like it. I have the omnibus of it. And I have just a few of the issues. I didn't buy all of them when they first came out. Just the first issue and a couple, because I just kept missing them at the store. I wasn't using a comic book store at that time. I was buying everything in a supermarket. I wasn't able to buy everything. So I do have the omnibus, which is really good. Um, is that it? Then a bunch of other companies, probably in the '90s and the 2000s, did Deja Thoris comics. That's the name of the princess that he eventually marries, falls in love with. That's the Princess of Mars. She's a main character. So there's been a lot of adaptations, comic book wise. So there's a lot of this stuff is out there. But if you don't know that much about this, I would just direct you directly to a book by Edgar Rice Burroughs called A Princess of Mars. That's the place to start. It's not a long book. It's short, and I think you'll enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed looking at this great Tarkas statue. He does really look cool. And I'm going to work on a full display. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to use one of these empty like shell spaces to see if I can't make some sort of a Martian diorama and maybe throw some paint on some styrofoam and see if we can make it look like some rocks and some sand, maybe paint some stuff. We'll see how it turns out. Could be fun, right? Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed looking at this John Carter Warlord of Mars figure by Triad Toys, and then the companion piece, which is the Tarkas 1/4 inch or 1/4 scale mixed format figure. And this is a tall figure. That was something that we missed out on. I didn't quite measure this. Let's see. Hold on. I don't know if we can do this one-handed. We're going to try it. See how this works. Okay, not exact. Hold on. This is what you get in my channel. So not absolutely exactly the measurements. This is just roughly, he's roughly 19 inches tall. Okay, hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.